A massive explosion in Beirut has left up to 300,000 people homeless, with property damages ranging from $3 to $5 billion. The blast was sudden, and multiple camera angles show just how devastating this was to the area. However, during a time where everything is used to push a political narrative, we will do everything we can to tell you the real cause of the Beirut explosion. Welcome to Informoverload. I'm your host Johnny Rogers, and you're watching the #1 entertainment news show on the internet. If you happen to be new here and you don't want to miss another daily video from us, make sure you tap that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Now, without any further delay, let's get right into today's story. Yesterday, the city of Beirut experienced an absolutely devastating explosion that could be heard as far away as Cyprus, which is about 150 miles away. Now, there is a lot of misinformation that's being spread about this blast, so I will do my very best to sift through what actually happened and keep you informed on the matter. The Lebanese president called for an emergency cabinet meeting today and said a 2-week state of emergency should be declared. The death toll currently from the blast is at least 100 people, with another 4,000 in critical condition. The blast itself struck with the force of a 3.5 magnitude earthquake, according to Germany's Geosciences Center. Following the blast, a fire then broke out in the city's port area, and officials in the area are blaming the explosion on highly explosive materials that had been stored in that warehouse for 6 years. According to the president of Lebanon, there was 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate that was being stored unsafely. From first glance of the video and right before the big explosion, you can see sparks flying from the warehouse that appear to be fireworks going off. This is also why we saw initial reports saying that this was coming from a fireworks factory. An investigation, though, is now underway to find the exact trigger for that explosion. The Lebanon Supreme Defense Council has said in response that those responsible will face the maximum punishment possible. It's still being debated as to whether or not this was an attack, and with their biggest port being so close, it's starting to appear that this was a calculated strike on a city that is already experiencing the worst economic crisis in history. US President Donald Trump offered his condolences and assistance to the people of Lebanon during a White House press conference. He also went on to say that after meeting with some of his top army generals, they concluded that the explosion certainly feels to be an attack. In a tweet on the Lebanese presidential account, Prime Minister Hassan Diab said, "It is unacceptable that a shipment of ammonium nitrate estimated at 2,750 tons has been present for 6 years in a warehouse without taking preventative measures that endanger the safety of citizens." Apparently, the explosives were taken from a shipment that had entered the port, and for whatever reason they just decided to store it right beside the port entry. Chris Hunter, who is a counter-terrorist bomb disposal operator, has also weighed in on the video evidence to give more of a detailed take on what happened. Mr. Hunter said that typically when we see a white, pink, and red smoke being created in the aftermath, that is usually from gunpowder or ammunition. In a statement, he said, "If you see white smoke, that's usually consistent with what we call low explosives. It looked to me like that deep red color was from a fire, so it could have been from burning materials, furniture, or some sort of dye or paint. It could have also been from the amount of dust in the area." There's also a debate that this was just an unfortunate accident rather than an attack. Quite often, if you get a volatile mixture of dust and something flammable, you're more likely to have an explosion like this. For example, sawdust mills, flour mills, and sugar mills, that sort of thing, could also cause explosions. So it could have been any of those things as well that was on fire that subsequently led to the explosion. One of the things that is unique about low explosives is that if you increase the pressure, then you increase the burn rate. So if you were to confine that in a hard container so it has nowhere to go, you'd get an instantaneous explosion. Now, the political narrative that some people are trying to run is that this was an attack by Israel. That being said, Israel, which has seen years of conflict with Lebanon and recently with Hezbollah, denied any involvement and offered humanitarian medical aid. France and the United Nations Special Coordinator also offered humanitarian assistance. Over the past few decades, Beirut has endured bloodshed and bombings, armed conflict with their neighbor Israel, and a civil war. According to Al Jazeera, an initial large explosion in the port area of Beirut took place around 6 p.m. local time, resulting in a fire, several small blasts, and then a colossal explosion that flattened the harborfront and surrounding buildings. A local broadcaster reported that the Beirut harbor general manager said that the facility had warehoused highly explosive materials 6 years ago based on a court order. The broadcaster quoted him saying that the Customs Department and state security had asked authorities for the material to be exported or removed, but then nothing happened. The New York Times is also reporting that while the exact cause remains undetermined, the first blast may have been in a fireworks warehouse at the port that spread to the stockpile of the stored explosives. Investigators will still try to determine whether the blasts were accident or intentionally triggered. Beirut was engulfed in civil war from 1975 to 1990 and has seen bombings and conflicts since then, raising fears of a possible return of violence. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to our editing team for all of their hard work. I would also like to extend our deepest condolences from Informoverload to the people of Lebanon. This explosion was absolutely devastating, and hopefully the world can come together to help you in your time of need. From Informoverload, my name is Johnny Rogers, and until next time, stay safe out there.